Good morning, good evening, good night. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Heroes Podcast 64. My name is Ryan G. I'm one of the IMC tribal leaders, as well as the owner and head coach of Aligned to Strategy. But of course, my co-host, the real Pete Kirkwood, he is responsible for making people tons and tons of money. He is your success maker, your hero, creator, your king, maker. Pete Kirkwood, the topic today is why be a hero? So let's start off with that. Pete, what's up with you?
Oh, brother, thank you for that introduction. Much respect. Appreciate that always.
Of course.
It's fascinating when you're living your life, you often forget what it looks like from the outside.
Yeah.
And here I am, right? Like I'm rolling into this podcast straight out of a miniature fighting tournament we just had. So here at the village,
that explains the bare-chestedness, but continue.
But the culture, right? Like, also someone randomly said we should have a roll, and I was like, what do you mean? And it was sort of the discussion went back and forth. It's like, well, if someone has a roll, I'll have a roll, and if they fight, I'll fight. And it was like, well, okay, we got a small group of us here. And after about 15 minutes of the conversation, 4 of us were like, we'll do it. So we had a discussion about how we wanted to do it. And one of the 4, the newest member at our village, he hasn't fought any of us before. And the last time he was in a fight, it was actually a literal life and death situation, right? So a friendly spar, a casual roll, was something that he was like really excited to do because it brings you into that energy without it being so serious.
Yeah.
And so we just did a mini tournament where he had to go through the ranks. And it was fascinating watching everyone's style, right? Because why be a hero? And coming around to it, okay? We had the person who had the experience. Now, he was like, well, I'll go last, right? Because I'm the one who's got lots of experience. I'm the one this, I'm the one that, blah, blah. So he went last. And then we had the guy who was the big challenge because he's just a unit, right? He carries that weight. He is a big man. He was second. And I was up first because I'm the greenest. So the interesting thing was noticing how that went. So in the first fight, it looked like it was not going to be a challenge for our challenger, he had this tournament in front of him. But what ended up happening was he would get control of me and he would put me in a position, and then he would find that it wasn't enough. Yeah, I was being choked. Yeah, I was being stretched. Yeah, I was under pressure, but not enough to break me over that line.
Right.
Because I had a beingness and a mentalness about me and a style that was challenging to read. It looked like I actually wasn't challenging an opponent. But the problem was everything I had was in the survival and endurance category. So I didn't make many attacks. But it didn't take very long before my opponent was completely out of breath, and all I had to do was lie on them. And then I was slowly working the submission, right? I had one arm under his neck, and I had the other part coming around through here to get the Ezekiel. And it was this way around. And I had it coming around this way, and I knew it was coming in, and he just went tap. He just went tap. I'm pinned. I'm out of energy. I'm only going to last another minute or 2. I can't get out of this, and I've got 2 other people to fight. So you're thinking, oh, it doesn't sound that impressive. I don't give a fuck. I just won my first fight against someone here who's a very skilled ninjutsu master. So, right, BJJ versus ninjutsu. I just got put in a crucifixion, right? I'd never even seen a crucifixion, and I just got one down on me. So I was like, fuck, what is this?
It sucks, doesn't it?
I was like, okay. And it was hilarious because everyone was saying, this is it. Pete's in a crucifixion. He's cooked. And I was like, well, okay, I feel this. But it's not like you've got pressure, but you haven't choked me. And you've got stretch, but you haven't like stopped me. So right. It became like I was like, all right, well, if I put my legs together and I apply them as leverage, it's stronger than your arm. And then if I straighten my back, it's my back versus your arms. And yeah, you've got stronger arms than me, but you don't have as stronger arms than my back and my legs, because it's all about the principle, right? So as I held that frame, very quickly he was getting tired, and then all of a sudden it's like, shit, I've got to switch to another move. And then in that movement, in that attempt to get a new position, there's a window for me.
Yeah.
And every time that happens, he's more tired, and then all of a sudden he's in a position where he's like, I just can't go on. Now, I was well aware there was a moment in that fight where I had my head under his arm, where it was almost like he could get a guillotine, but he couldn't quite get the angle because I had my own arm protecting my neck if he tried to go around it. But he had the elbow, and I could feel he was like, now I'm going to smash you in the face. Wait, that's not the rules. This is a non-striking match. This is like a roll. This is a techniques, pinning, sparring match. That's not in the rules. And I could feel, I was like, oh, if this wasn't like a sport right now, if this was a fight, not a sport, I would have a broken nose, because that elbow was right there next to my face, and he would just, until I fucking stopped, right? Because I had the back and I was not giving it up. And he was like, I can't believe I can't get out of this. And that leverage, applying the technique, created the result where everyone's like, shit, Pete, I didn't expect that from you. I was like, well, I've been paying attention in class, right? I've been studying, I've been learning the techniques, I've been applying myself. And it's like, why be a martial artist? Well, because sometimes you're going to have that moment when everything you've put in and all that effort you've put in results in a victory you're not expecting. Because I'm well aware that the person I just fought, if it was a fight, not a contest, right? Like an actual, he'd decided that he hated me and that I was the scum of the earth, and that if I died right now by his hand, that would be great. He'd probably kill me, right? And that is what it is, because he's been trained in such a lethal style. It's actually challenging for him to just have a friendly fight. But from my perspective, here I am, where the consistent effort I'd put in created my character, created my fighting style, created my brand of the martial art that I use to create that result. And I won. I just won. I beat someone who I knew going into it I shouldn't win. So why be a hero? That's what we're talking about. I've just spoken a whole lot about fighting, but it's exactly the same story. The effort you put into being a hero in your day-to-day life, in your actions and your habits and your thoughts and your beliefs and the things you do, will result in moments where everyone's going, I've just got all the messages coming through now with all the videos, because the whole thing got videoed, so I'll post them. It's that result where you weren't really expecting it, but you're also not surprised, because everyone else was like, holy shit, we didn't expect you to win. Well, I didn't expect not to win. I just expected that it was going to be tough. I didn't put any expectation on winning, because that's not the right way to do it. When you're fighting, you're putting the expectation on being your best self. Now, if your best self doesn't carry you to a victory, then the only person you can, like, that's a deal with you. And in that moment when you're being a hero, the way things happen and the results that happen and the things that come forth from that, you can't plan them. I'm about to get access to something which is incredibly rare, incredibly valued, and it holds a high esteem to anyone who can display it. And I'm about to get it for free. Not because, and really, the only reason I'm about to get that for free is because of my character and who I am and how I am. Someone is more than prepared to say, here you go. Now, that is the result of being a hero. It's not something I can point to and go, you're going to have 100 grand in your bank account. You're going to make $100,000 a year. You're going to be able to drive a Porsche. You're going to be able to date a model, right? You're going to be able to date this particular model. It's not specific. You say, oh, I want to be a doctor. What does being a doctor give me? Well, you're going to be able to own your own practice. You're going to be able to command a salary at somebody else's practice. You're going to have to do, and there's like a formulaic outline of what being a doctor will get for you, what that will achieve, what that will look like. When you're being a hero, there is not a structure where you can say, well, this is what it's going to be like to be a hero. Because it's really going to depend on your brand of being a hero. It's like you can't say this is how you're going to fight if you pick up martial arts. Because we just had the example where I barely attacked and I won through endurance. And it created that outcome and that result. So you're going to have heroes who are going to be passive, and then being around will continually put things in order, like the tide, just calmly, absolutely making sure in a rhythmic way everything stays in order. And then you're going to have heroes who are like a hurricane, who are going to come through and destroy all the problems in a massive mess, and it's going to be fixed, but it's going to create a different kind of result. So saying what it's like to be a hero, well, unexpected rewards. I could get into the way. Yesterday, I had an example where I could have been a hero, and I was a little bit greedy in my pricing, and she turned around and cut me out. And I had recognition that, yeah, no, I thought I was being greedy, and I got shunned for it. I should have said a cheaper price, and I said a higher price because I was like, fuck it, I'm charging extra because I can. And on the other end, she was like, I feel like you're just charging the extra, so get fucked. And I was like, damn it. And I had that moment where I was like, that wasn't the right thing to do, right? That was the arrogant thing to do. That was the cocky thing to do. That was not the heroic thing to do. And I had the instant karma check. The universe instantly went, well, why would we give you this reward? You're not being heroic right now. It's like, damn, it was literally $20, right? If I had said a $20 less, I guarantee. But, a round number is a lot easier to sell than a round number with $20 added onto it. And that was the mistake, because it's obvious that $20 is added onto that round number. The round number, that's just a round number. So that interaction, go on, you were going to say?
I agreed. I agree with most with what you said until we had to talk about money.
Right. Okay. When you're positioning something to someone, the way that you transmit a price and what that price communicates is going to have an impact.
Of
so
course.
When you sell something for $97, people know that you're just not saying 100. It's $100, but you're just not saying 100 because 100 sounds scary. So we say it's just less than 100, and 97. Like anyone who knows psychology of sales and the stuff, everyone knows 97 is better than 99, it's better than 98, it's better than 96. Everyone knows it's 97, right? Ending in $7. But if I said it's $103, you're like, bro, it's $100 and you added $3.
I see it like that.
Because it's above the you've gone over the round number. So if I wanted to sell you something for over $100, I'd be better off selling it to you for 117 or 147 than 103.
I see what you mean. I have a slightly different philosophy on that. I say my fee is my fee. And if you think my wisdom is worth your time, my skills is worth your time, then you pay my fee upfront. But that's more along the lines of ethics and morals. And here's where, and this links back to what you were talking about. Why be a hero is more just simply doing the right thing. It's expressing yourself through the archetype that is the hero. As for if you've interpreted it, now it's the same thing as, doing a workout. In my vision, as you first, the way I did push-ups back in the day, let's say 5 years ago, is completely inferior to how I do push-ups now. Because I've been through the process, I have seen the obstacle, I've been in conflict with myself. Because as we've listened, dear listeners, to the story of Pete Kirkwood, the real Pete Kirkwood, is that we start to see it's never us versus them when it comes to the hero. Yes. It's a you versus you. It's that fine line that we tread between I need to do this and I should do this. The should is usually the social conditioning that comes with it. Like, oh, it's kind of not right, but I'm going to do it anyway. Or, no, this is according to my own personal merit. It's according to, the principles that I follow. It's according to my own hero's code. I mean, let's look at Wolverine. Wolverine is a great example of a hero, but he's clearly a very different type of hero compared to Spider-Man. They also
Massive.
live completely different lives, and one hero cannot be judged very similarly to another unless we have some staff measures, and even that is a bit relative.
Well, it's like about doing the right thing, right?
Well,
Like, are you going to save that innocent person's life or not?
yeah,
Are
basically,
you Spider-Man or Wolverine would still save the innocent person's life if possible, right?
if possible, yeah.
Wolverine would be more likely to say it's not possible and let somebody die, right? And make that judgment call in the moment. Saving that
He,
civilian versus killing the big boss.
I have
He's
the
more
feeling that Wolverine would look at the bigger picture, like
yes,
lose the
yes,
few to save the rest. Because even if he saves, that one or two people, he will be putting the rest of the group in danger. And he's a
exactly,
veteran. He looks at
exactly.
efficiency and effectiveness.
Versus
Whereas,
Spider-Man, who's more of an idealist, and he
yeah,
will save those two people at the risk of the whole thing going wrong. But both of those things are heroic. They're just a different style. Like a burst fighter versus an endurance fighter. It's
exactly.
the big picture hero versus the save everything, save everyone hero.
And thus we come back to it's all depending on the context we're in and the results that we want. Because the context reveals the obstacles, and the obstacles are usually relative to, where do you want to go and how do we measure our progress towards the ideal that we want to have. You see where I'm getting at?
I
If you look
do.
at back at, your sparring match, on surface level, everybody would ask themselves, why is it so heroic? But if you look at on a deeper level, we start to see it's not heroic simply because it's a fight. It's a demonstration of strength, prowess,
Mhm.
but also ethics and morals.
Character.
You know, that's part of character, of course, a demonstration of strong, proper character. And it's the whole idea of even in conflict, my character will not break. And
Yes.
that's a tough thing to do. Why is it tough, Pete Kirkwood? Why is it tough to not break character during, in this case, a high stakes situation of conflict?
That's a good question, right? And the simple answer is because your body is wired for you to break character. It's full of old school technology, like
Yeah,
we're talking about instinct, animal brain, all that kind of stuff, which creates the fight or flight scenario, jams your emotions in one of two directions, right? You're either towards joy or you're towards fear, and it floods your body with chemicals, adrenaline and hormones and all that kind of stuff to create results. It doesn't say, let your mind work this out and do what you think is right. So if you've trained your actual beingness and your character into being a hero, in those crucial moments when your body says, your mind's not in charge anymore, poof, we're in emergency mode and we're flooding the switch, where all of that chemical emotion, energy expresses itself is in a heroic action because
yeah,
you've become that person on an internal level, not just on a conscious level, versus when you haven't put that effort in. And that's why I got a lot of respect for the man I just fought, because it was the exact moment when I knew that my face was supposed to be getting elbowed like a fucking jackhammer and I was supposed to be losing my nose in the moment. Because in a fight, that was the thing to do, but those were not the rules of the engagement. So the person I was in with is internally solid enough and has a strong enough character
yeah.
to hold themselves to the right thing in the moment and not be taken away. Because on one side, being taken away in the right way is fine, right? The Hulk. The Hulk gets incredibly angry and he goes and bashes all the bad guys in the face. There's no control there.
Yeah.
But when the Hulk loses it, modern Hulk, when the Hulk first was created, he'd just bash everything. But the more modern and control Hulk channels his anger very effectively. So even when he loses control, he's still a hero. And in that moment where there's so much adrenaline, so much tension, I got that respect for him being able to have that control to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that comes from training. It's training, and whether that is the AZD process, where you're on your wake up time and your cold showers and your meditations and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So you start actually physically imposing your mental will on your physical self that creates that conditioning and that strength, or it's some other process you use. A lot of other people struggle with addiction.
Right.
To be able to stop drinking coffee is something that a lot of people, right? Because coffee's a massive addiction. A lot of people would say, oh, but there's a reason I don't need to stop drinking coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Or the famous one, I can stop at any time.
Mm.
And as I've changed things with schedules, routines, diets, and stuff like that in my life, I've watched not just how I do it, but how other people relate to me doing it. Because the other day I said, I'm going to stop this for 10 days and it's going to be not a thing. So I can make that decision, that willpower, that choice. And straight away people are like, oh, we better start taking it away from you. Because if you don't have it, then you can't be tempted. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but I'm not having a problem with addiction. I can actually just quit. So when I say I can quit, it can sit right next to me and I said I quit. I don't need to eat that chocolate. Right? I quit chocolate, right? For example, I'm not eating chocolate for 10 days. You can put chocolate next to me and I can say, bro, I said I wasn't eating chocolate for 10 days. Now, a lot of people can't do that. Like, I had a scenario where out of the blue, there was an opportunity that I never expected, which for me to take full advantage of that opportunity, I would have to go back on my decision to quit, right? I was like, wow, that's really annoying. And then I thought about it and I thought, well, the logical thing is, instead of being like, no, I have to stay so strong to what I decided before in the past that didn't have this information, I can't go back on my word. That shows that the problem with my addiction is still a problem because I can't even entertain it being not an addiction. I can't think about it as a thing. I think about it as an addiction. But because I don't fall to that level of willpower, I was able to just say, all right, I'll reverse my decision for now, the short temporary period of time, to take advantage of this thing, and then I'll just go back to my original decision. And I did. And there was just no problem. Because those kind of tests are available to all of us constantly. They demonstrate our character and they demonstrate who we are. Being a hero is literally just holding that frame, that strength internally, so it displays externally, and not letting other people get involved. It's exactly like you said, Ryan, you versus you. And as that goes forward, the results. Why be a hero? One of my very good friends is not the same kind of a genius like I am. He's very, very incredibly amazing at what he does. I can't do it. Most people can't do it. And he is a multimillionaire, but he's not an intellectual genius. And for years, I've gone back and forth with him on a certain issue where I've said, this is how it is. And he says, no, bro, I don't see it. And then just in the last few days, he said, you know what? That, plus that, plus that, bro, you must be right. There's no other way that works. Like, there's no other way that makes any sense unless what you're saying is true. And I'm like, finally. And because I have stuck to my character for years, and who I am internally, what I know is true. I've refused to compromise on the truth and all of that stuff. I've maintained heroism on that particular subject and that particular style of beingness. I'm trying really hard to speak around people's personal lives and not, say anything that would be a violation of their public privacy and confidence here. But because of that, over time, the result is that one of my close friends has turned around and said, well, actually, now I'm on your side with that. Now, as a result, if I turned out to be wrong, after all this, if I turned out to be wrong, the fact that he had the courage and the balls to turn around and say, I was wrong, I see you're right, and I agree with you on this subject. If I do turn out to be wrong in the end of it, I don't care, because I can trust him like a brother, and I can see that level of relationship that is so strong. That bond of brotherhood is so strong, and you'll find that it's stronger than the bonds of fucking, right? The bond of a cock and a vagina is less strong than brothers' blood spilled in battle together.
Yeah, I could imagine.
The water of the womb. No, what is it?
The water of
the blood of the blood of brothers in battle is thicker than the water of the womb. That's the full quote of blood runs thicker than water.
Isn't that kind of like, bros for hoes?
Yes. The saying comes from way back in the day when it was like, if you go to battle with your brothers, you are closer to them than your family.
Yeah.
Because your family never did shit with you. They just raised you and you just fucked around and then provided them whatever. And but it's not life or death. It's just,
right.
Well, we're just alive. We're just family, right?
Right.
That saying has been corrupted over time into the short version, blood is thicker than water, where people say, oh, well, they're blood. I'm blood with my family and water is everything else. That's not what the true intention is. The true meaning behind that saying is the blood of the covenant runs thicker than the water of the womb.
Right.
And you see so many demonstrations of this in old men's clubs, RSA clubs, and even when it's around a sport, like a bunch of guys are into shooting, or they're into their rugby, or they're into their soccer, or whatever it is, they really form such close bonds of brotherhood. And I see that coming through now in some of the relationships in my life as the years go on. All right, one of those men is live in this thing right now. I can see those bonds coming stronger over time, in a way that I see that even the intensity of the male-female bonds can be electric and full of emotion and energy. It's just not the same. But unless you hold yourself to a code of honor and a standard and all of that kind of shit, right? Like, to be a hero, you never will create those bonds of brotherhood, those blood forged in battle, that covenant with a brotherhood of men, to know that feeling. Because right now, if it wasn't for this podcast, I just want to be going and fighting with the boys. Like, when we wrap this up, I'm probably going to go have another rock, right? I don't know if to start this to go. But it's within me, that energy. And people who know me and who have known me for a long time know that I'm not an aggro person. I'm not a happy puncher. I'm not exactly a pacifist, but I'm definitely always non-violence first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of conflict, right? I prefer harmony. But here I am, where I'm like, I want to go fight these guys. I want to fight these guys because I see the harmony within the brotherhood, not the conflict within the fight. And these are the results of living as a hero. That my life and the way I see it and the way that it responds to me starts to change. Because I live like a hero, I get treated like a hero. And like I went back and forth with my brother, if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't get the results that I do. I wouldn't have the opportunities, the rewards, the people in my life that I do if I wasn't living on that code. So why be a hero? Because it is the best. It is the best result you can have in life. It's not about anything else. It's literally, there's nothing better than that. And if you want to put anyone up against me for an argument, saying, well, their life's better than a hero, I'll rip that apart. They either are a hero, so they're demonstrating the quality of life,
Uh-huh.
or they're not. Take
No,
Arash, for example.
Yeah, okay. Uh-huh.
Arash is standing up and giving hundreds of men hope. That's fucking heroic.
Yeah.
I remember when I first came across him, and that was because I was struggling to find hope, and I did. And I realized that maybe there was a chance I could actually have my dreams in life, because I was feeling a little bit like, fuck, I don't know if this is ever going to be able to happen. And him standing up in that way led and inspired me and dozens, hundreds of other men. Like, I know at least 2 people in here are an IMC, and I'm pretty sure the other brother here is as well. That's a familiar name. The going forward, that energy, you look at the rewards he has in his life. Well, if he started becoming exploitative and an asshole, yeah, after 3 months, he probably still would have what he has, but not after 3 years, not after 15 years. And whereas you look 15 years back, because he's been on code the whole time, it's just continuously grown. You look 15 months back, it's continuously grown. And I see like this beautiful display here with the IMC sigil, and there's the dragon and the plants and all sorts of little sigils and symbols and things. If you understand your shit, you understand your shit, and you know. I didn't create it. Someone created it for me who knew me well enough to create that. Fucking cool. I don't have the artistic expression, vision, yes, but expression, I'm not that good with, to create something like this. And if I wasn't me, my heroic self, it wouldn't exist. I wouldn't get those results.
I agree with you to a certain extent. You're always you. You're always you. That's a given. It's just in the way that you want to express yourself has a tendency to differ. Before I started on, our Pacific IMC process, I thought of myself as a very different character. I did not realize that winning doesn't necessarily have to be in relation to, society's norms, let's say.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm doing? The dealing with conflict can also be from the mental frame of according to my own merits. Because that's what we're talking about. That's in essence what's being said, both by you, by me, by our tribal leaders, by our, IFC community. It's in tasting the blood, sweat, and tears, and of course the victory before, during, and after the situational conflict. This is where we start to find out more about ourselves, and of course, with the added benefit of actually fucking winning. And here's where you get an interesting quote. I'm entitled to the work, never to the results. And in that, you see our work that we need to do is time and time again demonstrating character, the character being our own interpretation of what it means to be a hero. Because as you see, I agree with you 99% of the time, and it's always at 1%, and I'm like, I don't know about that. We might have to have a discussion on that. And for one instance, we could have easily done, hey, let's say we didn't know each other, I didn't know the IMC process or the HD process. I can make an argument, but yeah, I kind of want to be an asshole because I always thought I need to be an asshole to make more money. Then Kirkwood says, and it's me pretending I don't know the process. Kirkwood, you're asking a lot of us. When I think about a hero, I see this grand, man with a vision, etc. I just want to have money. How the fuck does being a hero make you money?
Good question. Very good question, right? Oh man, this is going to be one of those answers that anyone who really vibed with that question is not going to like. The way that being a hero gets you money is that the energy returns itself. So I'll use my father as an example, right? Because the way that my father always ran his business was as a nice guy, not an asshole. So
A nice guy. Could you define the term nice guy, please?
yeah, I knew that would trip you up, right? Because you were not expecting that. Now, my father has a reputation for sometimes being a bit of an asshole, but he ran his business as a nice guy. So that meant that when and get this, he was a car dealer, right? Car dealers have a reputation for being scummy assholes.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm not that guy, right? I'm not that guy. I'm a nice guy, and I do right by people. So people would come back to him after a month and be like, the diff's fucked in this car, bro. You sold me this car and the diff's fucked. And he'd be like, well, where have you been driving it? And they'd be like, here, there, and there. And he's like, well, you've taken it somewhere that it's not suited for. You've owned it for longer than the period of fucking that I legally have to do anything for it, right? Outside the Consumer Guarantees Act in our country. So maybe it's 2.5 months or whatever. And legally, I don't have to do shit. But I know that you're a good person, and I know that you didn't know any of that, didn't intend that, and I want you to have a good experience, so I'll pay to get it fixed. And my dad lived like that for years, for decades. And everyone's like, why the fuck would you do that, man? You know, Rob, like, why would you do that? Why would you let people take advantage of you? And you see those standout moments where someone comes in and you can tell that they're obviously taking the mickey, but you can't really prove it. And
yeah.
And you see those negative moments. You think, what is the point of living heroically as a car salesman? And then you see the part where my dad's business started going weird, things weren't working, the industry was going wrong. He didn't know there was an employee inside of his business sabotaging it for their own personal gain. He didn't know that because he trusted them and they were covering their tracks. But what he started doing was he started doing not car dealery things. So car dealers work by having a yard with a front where there's lots of traffic, there's visibility, it's always front of mind, people are driving past, so when they think I want a car, they know where to go and get one. So he moved into a back warehouse down a back alley in a side street in the middle of nowhere with absolutely zero visibility all day, all night, all week, which technically is impossible. However, because he had the reputation for being who he was for decades, everyone just still went to him. They went and found him to buy another car 7 years after they bought the first one because they got such a good experience. 3 years after they bought it, 12 years after they bought it, because he demonstrated such a heroic level of character by not playing the asshole, right? Sometimes he was an asshole. You know, if you pushed him too far, fuck yeah, my dad could be a real asshole. Shit, yes.
Yeah, that's a line. Yeah.
His general, there's a line. His general beingness in business was too nice.
Huh.
And that attitude cost him a lot of money, but it generated him a following and a customer base that exceeded every other car dealer in the entire region. And he knows that because the people he was dealing with who dealt with all of the car dealers would continuously say things to him like, Rob, his accountant said, Rob, how the fuck do you make so much money as a car dealer? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But it's because he was doing it in a way where people would go home and they would tell 5 or 6 of their friends, you have to go to him to buy the car, man. You have to go to him to get your next car. Not, oh yeah, I got it down at such and such. Oh, they're a bit this and they're a bit that. It was all right.
I
But
see.
he would create fans, not
I
customers, by being a hero. And if you're a hero in anything, you start to create fans, right? Like, take Dan Willis for an example. Dan's been a client of mine for a long time, but Dan's a fan of mine He likes my character. He likes my energy. He likes the way I do everything, not just help him as a coach. He likes the way I do the whole thing. So it creates an energy where he wants to add value in my direction. And heroically, man, that has resulted in some incredible adventures that him and I have been on. We've had some like ridiculous interactions socially with other people. You know, do you drink? Now you do. Here you go. Like watching Dan put drinks in people's hands who like crossing social boundaries. And yeah, you remember what I'm talking about now. That was fucking like, it was hilarious. Now, the other thing is, if we weren't heroic, I mentioned crossing social boundaries, bro, there would have been fists and faces. It would have been a fight. But there was such a genuine goodness that no one could really like object. They could not like it and they could disagree, but they couldn't, what's the word? Like they couldn't trash it. You know, they could disagree, but they couldn't say no. Like they couldn't say that's completely wrong, that's completely unacceptable. It's a kind of situation where anyone's gonna be like, well, you know,
because what he was doing was congruent to his character.
Bang, yes, congruent to character. And that heroism shows through, right? That goodness, that whatever those defining traits are of your character, they will come through. We're talking about heroism, but if you are a fucking scumbag lying thief listening to me, I can't believe that you still do, but that will show through.
Yeah, you would think after almost 20 plus weeks it would have stopped listening. But here's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought.
Go for it.
The personal merits of this archetype has to be in line with the story, the vision that a person has, because then things start to make a bit more sense. Because from, Spider-Man and Wolverine are both tragic heroes in their own way.
Totally.
Wolverine arguably even worse, seeing how it's almost a looping cycle at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man is just Uncle Ben. God only knows what kind of trials of death Wolverine went through, from what we know.
True.
Why the storyline, Pete Kirkwood? Now, my humble opinion would be, if you look at it from a business perspective, it would be nothing more than a clear vision combined with obstacles or objectives, I should say, goals, strategies, and measures. And thus you get a storyline with a bit more grip, if that makes sense, because then it means we have a clear vision as a company, as an organization, as an organism to reach a very specific goal in our own way, according to our own merits. And we act as such. And it starts to make sense if you look it from a business heroics perspective. Yes, we're about profit, don't get me wrong. But we're not bad people, or better said, we actively go out to do good. If we can help a client that's in a bad situation, knowing that of course he's going to pay us back at some point, but knowing that by doing that, we uphold our principles, we uphold our values, for some reason that feels just a bit better than just receiving money. It's that interestingness of, there's some friends we respect a lot more. And not only do we tolerate them more, we trust them more because they're more reliable. They have this certain way of being that makes me go, if ever I need some money, if ever I need some help moving or help in a fight, sure, they'll make fun of me later, but when it's time to throw down, let's say they're there. And in that, what if that was like your business? In Dutch, we usually say calling is faster than an email. It's that personal connection that you have and demonstrating that strength through customer service. Like, we think customer service is so important because the moment you become our client, the moment you become my girlfriend, the moment you become my partner, the moment you become a part of my tribe, etc., 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 I will take care of you as per, my merit, my principles, and I will do it
Yeah.
heroically.
Yes.
And I expect us to fight because, my vision doesn't have to be yours. I mean, look at Goku and
Okay.
Vegeta, or even better, Spider-Man and Wolverine. How many fucking fights didn't we see? How many conflicts? Or even Spider-Man and the X-Men, the Lone Ranger
Oh, yeah.
versus the Tribe.
Well, that's a big part of it, right? Because the tribal thing, I think, is poorly understood by the majority of people at a social reality level.
Right.
Because talking about being the hero and what it gets you is it actually gets you a tribe. And a lot of people don't understand what a tribe is, right? They have social circles. Fuck your social circles. Get a tribe. Because I've had this conversation with a few of my close brothers. I will
Right.
never, I will never take a woman off a man in my tribe.
Because that's a dishonorable act to do, regardless.
Correct.
And the consequences is too much of a drag to deal with.
Correct. Well, the thing is that because the men in my tribe are more important to me. It's the truth.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I have more respect for the relationships I hold with my brothers than fucking some bitch. So if she's your girl, she's your girl. I don't want to deal with that. That's your thing. And part of the reason I bring this up is because I don't have the best history. And if I was to talk to some of my older friends going back a couple of decades, they'd be like, yeah, bro, you had a bit of a bad reputation for not being able to leave you alone with somebody's girlfriend. Because the thing was, I was a very nice guy. But what that meant was that when someone's in a relationship, they've got less walls up than when they're single. So those casual conversations, people are more likely to have them, and it doesn't
Yeah.
take long before you've gone somewhere that you shouldn't, and all of a sudden you're
Yeah.
crossing lines and all right.
Been there as well. Yeah.
Right. I have that skill level completely available to me where I can go down that track. Now, if I get emotionally invested, my skill's not as good. I'll be straight up honest about that. As soon as I get emotionally invested, I don't socialize as well as when I'm emotionally interested. Emotionally invested is too much.
Right.
So what would end up happening is I'd get interested. Oh, I'm having a great conversation with this chick, and then it wasn't long before, she's saying like, tell me another story so I can get off without looking like a slut. It's like, something tells me that your boyfriend, who's my mate, would not want to hear you say that, right? Like we've crossed some line here. And I had to make that conscious decision in my mind because what's important to me is not just my life, but who's sharing it with me. That's what makes up my life. So for starters, I don't want any men who are not going to show me the same respect with my women. And I don't want any men who I'm constantly thinking, fuck, you're an asshole, I'd rather fuck your missus.
Yeah, that's not good. That will lead to fights, and there's nothing heroic about that.
Correct.
It's actually really scummy to even have such a situation.
You would be very surprised how common that is. You would be very surprised how many friends are friends with people just to get to some girl. And that what's it called? That level of honor, that level of respect, that level of choice to say, I choose these rules for my life around what a tribe is, what it means, this, that, the other. It also frees me up. Because now when some asshole comes around fucking being a fucking loser with a good girl, and I look at her and I go, that poor fucking girl. Oh my God, I feel so bad for her.
Right.
Well, now I have absolutely zero ethical problems about knocking him the fuck out and taking her. And to be clear, I am not going to knock him out physically. I am going to do it socially, financially, verbally, psychologically, physical. So that's so beginner level, right? And the men here know that. Punching people over versus talking them over is up here, man.
Yeah.
Because you've got force and you've got persuasion. And when you aren't good enough at persuading, you fall back on force.
Exactly.
So that result, where you end up with that tribe and you end up with those very clear lines, gives you that harmony, that peace. Right. I don't have a confusion in my mind about a social structure because I built one for myself and around me where I can work out everybody's place in it. How they want to arrange their social structures and whose place is in it, that's their business. But personally, I don't have any insecurities. I don't have any doubts. I don't have any nagging thoughts. I don't have any bullshit because it's mentally organized, clear. I'm a fucking hero. Right. And I'm not going to do anything that's not one. I think we've got a question.
Yes. Dan V. Rogue. What's good, brother? What's your question?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm actually at the gym.
What's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to go and add that. What's that?
Get that shit.
Yeah, we're getting this shit out here, bro. Yeah, so I just wanted to go and add that I can relate to like seeing couples like even here at the gym, like right. I just saw like a handful of couples, and I'm like, yo, dude, like that girl could just be doing so much better. You know what I mean? And it's been my experience that I guess the way to go about it is just like you use your communication to disarm the guy. So at some point, you just want to like make the guy your friend in a way, which he doesn't even know why he's doing so. But it's definitely been a couple of times where I've actually gotten the girl to be really, really fucking interested in me simply because I know what's going on. Like I get it, you know what I mean? In a way, yeah, I've just been seeing that, but the huge component of it is just communication, just knowing what you're doing, literally just disarming the guy. It's disarmed by befriending him, and then all of a sudden you just have like this dialogue with both of them to where like it's just like friend to friend, but slowly but surely you just start like making the girl a little bit more of a friend, and he doesn't even notice. It's like, it's crazy, bro, because I've been seeing that like we're all living in a physical world. Like we all see things objectively the same, but we have like this internal like filter. He's like the guy sees that I'm talking to this girl, but he actually doesn't see that I'm pursuing her in a way. Like it's so crazy. Like it's so obvious that I am, but he just doesn't see it. It's just mind blowing to me. In the same way that like you would see like a homeless person asking for $1. See, all you can see is like the next dollar, like the next dollar. I just want the next dollar, but he doesn't see the opportunities that we see on a day-to-day basis. That's what I'm saying. Like objectively, we're all living in the same world, but subjectively, we all perceive it way different. I just wanted to go and just add on that. That's all.
I think you're cutting out a bit there, Dan. You went mute.
Yeah. I finished my point. By the way. I don't know. I was just rambling because I'm kind of tired, but
that's
yeah.
No, hey, look, brother. What you're saying is dead on, right? Like what you're saying is dead on because you're literally defining being at that point in your life where you need to start making those decisions about your tribe, who's in your tribe, how you conduct yourself ethically, that kind of stuff. Because I'll share this one for free for anyone listening, right? And if someone's listening and you hear me say this to you in front of your girl, bring it. One of the most, like if you go up to a couple and you punch him, it's very obvious that you're like, I'll take her you can fuck off because you punched him, right? You physically said it. But if I verbally go up and I say to him, wow, bro, if I say, if I go up to him and I go, wow, bro, you're a lucky guy. You're a lucky guy to be with her. The majority of men will think you shook their hand, but she knows you punched him in the face. Now, think about that for a second. Dan is pissing himself. He knows exactly what I'm talking about because he hears the compliment, right? And unless he's actually educated himself socially, he's thinking, yeah, I've got this awesome woman. Yeah, I've got this awesome woman. He's not hearing, you don't have any skill. You have to rely on luck. She's better than you. But I said all three of those things. I said, you don't have any skill. The only reason that she's with you is because of luck. And she shouldn't be with you. She's way better. And she heard all three of those things. Now, I remember that line so powerfully because Mystery said it to Arash about Electra way back at the beginning. And Arash didn't know he was being hit in the face. Once upon a time, right? We're talking like 20 years ago. Maybe less. But the skill to fighting with words is a whole thing separate to the skill of physically fighting. And you notice it, right? You see when you start learning more about fighting. For example, you watch a UFC match and you watch a UFC match and one person puts someone next to you who doesn't watch anything about fighting, and on the other person puts someone who's obsessed, and notice what they see that the other one doesn't in the fight. It's the same thing socially. There's no university that can give you a degree in this skill. There's no school you can go to that will teach it. It's not recognized by the official system that the science of sociology is just as valid, technical, applicable to everyday life as engineering. They don't see that you can socially engineer the way you can physically engineer. I can build a forklift and get that to do all kinds of things to achieve this physical job instead of a bunch of men, or I can construct a bunch of language to create an entire social structure.
Right. But don't forget, there are people from a different culture, even though we live in the same society. So let's say New Zealand, even there we have different subcultures because, I come both from an academic background as well as a business background, as well as a martial arts background. So every time I literally shapeshift. When I go to work, I'm a different type of Ryan. Where it's always, oh hi, blah blah blah. When I go to fight, it's a different type of fight again. And in that we start to see we as humans, the moment you switch from tribe to tribe, well, I wouldn't call it tribe, environment to environment.
Yep.
We have no other choice but to adjust the character just a tiny bit. The principles stay the same, but the expression is slightly different because as much as I would like to force my character on people, I am still to honor the environment.
Absolutely.
Not just the people, but the actual situation at hand, because it would be foolish to do otherwise unless I want to, die. Daniel, what's up?
A good example. Oh, go for that.
Yeah, so I mean, this is you're speaking about your character and your archetype in these certain situations. Pete's probably the best sort of reference for this. He's seen my character, my archetype, my existence. It doesn't change.
Right.
No, it evolves.
I just exist in the moment. Who I am and what I do is what I will do everywhere. And it's an untapped skill. Basically, it's just something I have that I use continuously in every environment.
Yes. And just to add on to what Dan said there, the thing that is It's like a fantastic distinction. If I'm a king in my kingdom, I'll be a certain way with my people. If I visit another kingdom, I have to change. I can't be that way. But the thing that people fuck up is they change so much. Dan is so good at holding his congruency that even when he's not in his own kingdom with his own subjects listening to him, and he travels to another kingdom, people there recognize that he's a king, regardless of anything, because he doesn't change any of the fundamentals just to make other people feel better, but he knows how to be in a way that his kingness in his own kingdom or anybody else's won't, let's say, cause a war, right? Like there might be some upset and there'll definitely be some conflict, and Dan doesn't give a fuck about that. He loves it, but there won't be a war.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's about the subtle calibration per environment, but without losing yourself.
this might be a good topic for the next time. The
Next
relationship,
time,
because it's
Go for
already almost over time.
yeah, we do.
Your relationship with conflict. That's a powerful topic. I can already see it happening because Daniel approaches it from a completely different perspective to me. I prefer, almost to shape shift through everything, like a fucking eel and shit.
Yes. I just checked the messages, and that's what I said. Yeah, next week, like, let's talk about conflict.
So that's why I had it in my head.
That's why I was like, hang on, we've got a subject next week, and then I realized that you're talking about it.
Good. It's called marketing.
Oh, what is this? This is another level of professionalism for the Hero Podcast. I actually had my marketing manager say to me today, he's like, what do you mean you've got a podcast today that I haven't been advertising? I'm like, yeah, I know. So,
I get that a lot too from my business coach. It's like, bro, fucking get a video editor, just put it on already. Jesus Christ.
But so we literally have doubled our time. We're sitting at like the hour mark, and this is supposed to be a half-hour podcast. So
is it?
The last thing, well, that was the idea, right? The last thing I want to mention here is you're right about that level of being inspired to create the right environment, the right moment, the right thing. I have an event coming up. It's not completely announced yet, but I'll announce it for the first time here. It is called How to Be a Revolutionary in Your Own Life.
I see.
Because I know I can sit down in front of a computer and I can teach for 3 hours and I can pick a subject. And even if it's a subject I don't know a lot about and I'm not having a great day and all the rest of it, my skill as a teacher, a communicator, and an educator, and as a coach, guarantee people will walk out going, holy fuck, man. You've been to my events, Ryan, so's Dan. And in my last event, I remember Dan and I got into a fantastic Q&A at the end of it that a lot of people got a lot of value out of because they had my DMs blowing up. But I know that event didn't have the same energy as the first one because I was looking for the inspiration. Now that I've found the inspiration, the next event is How to Be a Revolutionary in Your Own Life. It's probably coming out around about the end of September. We're probably about 4, maybe 3.5 weeks away. I've got to confirm the times, and I've got to talk to one of the IMC brothers about a flyer for it as well.
I see.
But I'm internally wanting to create that event tomorrow, but I need time for people to know it exists and to buy a spot so they don't miss out. Without that energy, it's not the right time. And if you haven't got that inspiration for anything, for a relationship, for a business project, for anything, just don't get into it.
Right.
Like just wait until the timing is right, because timing is so critical. And with that note, we've been going an hour. Indeed. So anyone who's interested in learning how to be a better hero and get control of their life and have the life they want, solve any of their social problems and environment stuff, hit me up. If it's business related and you want to expand that business you've got, especially if you want more, how would I put it? The way Ryan has helped me.
Do tell. How did I help you?
Gain a professional perspective about understanding the data within your business.
Yeah.
As opposed to looking at it like an artist, right? The artist understands his data, his paintbrushes, his artwork very differently to the purchaser. And he needs to know both languages to be able to do it. So Ryan's ability to look at all of the languages that the data speaks and help put that into you, it's very worthwhile talking to him about business. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree. Speaking of data, I'm also having an event, the 12th. It's paints to profit. I believe all your paints can be turned into money. Money being literal cash, money being literal improvement. It is all on the basis of I've helped so many companies for the last 5 years, and I'm only seeing one consistent trend. Whatever constraints there might be, the moment you remove that constraint and actually improve the process, the new process, not only will there be more money, you'll have better clients.
That's
So
good.
what if we put it broader, like what you said? If you do one thing right, it usually follows the rest, you know? I'm acting my character, now I have a tribe. There has to be something in there, and I would like to talk about that. Paints into profit.
I can't wait. That makes a lot of sense. I see how you're going to drive that event forward. Fantastic. Oh, okay. We'll start revealing too much about this. The shit.
Yeah. I'm very tempted. I will also over time, and I need to get to work. Anyway, right. Outro. This has been the Hero Podcast 64. Good night, good morning, good evening, and I wish you the very best. May life never be the same. Be the best fuck the rest. Go out there and win.